This episode of Film Riot is brought to you by Video Blocks. Today on Film Riot, we're doing an interview. Welcome to Film Riot Mondays. Today we have an interview with the guys of Bloody Cuts. I really dug their short film that we actually promoted on the show a week ago, Don't Move. And I wanted to get them on the show to talk about indie filmmaking, their process, and any kind of good little info that they could impart into all y'all peeps. And I really love getting different viewpoints on things on the show. And we're definitely going to be doing this more often, but I'm just rambling now. Let's just jump right into the interview because there's a lot of good stuff. Logo. All right, so I got the guys of Bloody Cuts here. I guess before we get into all the questions and whatnot, do you guys want to introduce yourselves and who you are within your company?
Yeah, I'm Ben Franklin. I'm producer, kind of series showrunner. Throughout the films, I've edited 6 of the 8, and I've produced all of them, and Dead Man's Lake was my kind of directorial debut as well in the Bloody Cut series. I've got Anthony Melton here, director of Don't Move. He's also been kind of there right from the offset with me and Johnny, designing a bunch of the Bloody Cuts content, and Johnny as well is the DOP for Bloody Cuts. He's shot all of them aside from death scenes. That's his thing. He's the guy who makes our films look as good as they do.
And Johnny directed Prey.
Yeah, I directed Prey, which was sort of mid-season, but yeah, it was a good step up.
That's awesome. Yeah, and I guess before we get started, if you have not seen Don't Move, we're going to be talking about it. We're going to spoil it. I showed it, gave the link on Monday and everything. So, but if you haven't seen it yet, go to the link on your screen now. Watch it before we spoil the film for you. Don't be dumb. First of all, I guess, what is Bloody Cuts?
So Bloody Cuts is something which is kind of born out of mine and the guys' passions for short films, for horror, for anthologies, and it's something that it was a case of us spending time on our weekends talking about making films but not really doing it, and we entered a sci-fi 48-hour film challenge, realised actually we could make a film in 48 hours and it could be something quite special if we put our minds to it.
Yeah, so we had a great time making one film, so then we wanted to do more of it, and rather than just the one, we decided to make 13. So, so we launched well into that, and I guess that as the series has gone on, it's grown into it's grown into a brand of sorts. I hate that word, but certainly has got kind of an ideology behind it. And one of the things that we've enjoyed most about the show is the fact that each of the episodes follow a kind of ideology, which is to take a particular subgenre within the horror genre as a whole and try and mix it up and make each episode give it a twist and try and subvert the genre a little bit with what we do. So that's kind of where we are at the moment.
Yeah, that's definitely something that I love the most about it. Just when I think I'm like, I see what they're doing here, you guys always find a way to flip it, which makes it so satisfying in the end. So we'll get to specifically Don't Move in a second, but all of your short films have really high production value, but you guys shoot with a really low budget, right?
Beg, borrow and steal. Not so much of the stealing, I suppose.
Not
not anymore since that court case. So yeah, I mean, we've always we have a lot of connections through our day jobs, so through that garners favours, and people have been really generous with their equipment and their time and their energies, so we've been able to access quite a serious level of camera gear over the 8 episodes.
Obviously when we started off originally, I think our first episode was just planned after a night of work one evening, so we literally shot it in I think 3 hours after work one day with a 7D. And then gradually sort of went to 5D, and then sort of did a few episodes on that. And then we then sort of knew someone who had just bought the Red Epic, so I managed to convince him to get on board and sort of help out.
And that's just through genuinely just asking them and saying, can we do that? Here's what we've done before. We're trying to do some good things here. Please help us out. And if you don't ask, you don't get. And in the case of Millennium Effects, who do our special effects for us, it was a simple email saying, we've made this little film called Lock Up. Have you got any guys there that do on work experience that might want to come and help do some prosthetics for us? And they said, well, why don't we help you? We'd love to help someone out, some guys out like you. And then obviously the rest is history, and that's why we were able to get a kind of an 8-foot demon in our latest film, and face ripping, and you've not even seen the unrated version of Don't Move. There's even more gore that's not seen. So so there's still more to come with that as well. So it's definitely been a case of just contacting people, and people say to us, your films aren't no budget, they're not micro budget, that you clearly got a lot there on screen, and we have on screen, but we're still, the budget overall for the series is perhaps £11,000 we spent so far.
Yeah.
And everything else has been borrowed, and people giving up their free time, actors included.
Yeah, and that's for what you guys have been able to pull off. That's crazy low budget, and that's a great testimony to what we're always talking about on Film Riot. It's just because you're using a Red Epic doesn't mean you're paying for the Red Epic. You can get these things loaned to you, or you can get favors. The worst thing people can say is no. And a lot of people are always asking me how to do exactly what you guys are doing, and it's like you have to have something to show for yourself first before anybody's going to jump on board. All these I get frustrated messages from people being like, "Why are you using a Red Epic on Film Riot? We don't have that much money. I didn't pay for it. I didn't pay for the Epic. I just asked." So that's a great
guy who's
testimony
got
to that.
2 Red Epics, and he's someone we've known for a while, and we said, "Can we borrow it?" And he said, "Yeah." Came on. He shot second camera on Don't Move, and that's how it's worked out. And it's not because we're particularly flush. I mean, if we were particularly flush, we might have shot a feature by now. We're making short films because that's what we can afford to make within a 2-day weekend, really.
And like using a camera equipment of that size or that expense comes with its own challenges as well, which require a certain level of equipment that we perhaps don't have. So you use a Red Epic, you've got to have something to edit on, you've got to have something to process it on. We still edit on home domestic machines, so you do make a concession to bring that equipment in to then have the make the back end a hell of a lot tougher.
So I guess let's switch over and start talking about Don't Move, the latest film, which was directed by you. What inspired the story? The judging hand, Orion.
The judging hand. Well, the story was a script written by David Scullion. I think the Don't Move script had been shelved for about 2 or 3 years by David, but he had used it as an exercise to write a short film that was a horror short film that had minimal dialogue in it and no characters moving anywhere. That was his criteria, Don't Move, the film, which was originally called The Dead Don't Move, but we had to rename it because that would be the 3rd film in the series that had dead or death in the title. So I guess what I'm saying in a rather rambly way, I do that, is that the idea developed from David, and over time grew and grew and grew.
Now every time I'm going into a full production, like a full-on short film, I usually will pick a couple movies that I watch repeatedly before the film. Do you guys do anything like that?
I personally do. I get into a mindset once I've read the script and once I've spoken to the director. I personally will reference a movie that I will constantly watch over and over again to try getting a mindset.
Was there a specific one for this one?
Well, my ones were Tremors.
Okay.
Because I was trying to get into the mindset of people can't move, so it's going to be very boring to try to do camera moves, and I couldn't do it because there was no one moving anywhere. So it's not as if I could just come from behind a wall and reveal someone. It was quite difficult. So it was Tremors that I referenced just because they all had to stand still as well. Otherwise, they'd obviously get eaten by these big slugs.
Right.
And also Seven I referenced quite a lot just because I like the darkness of the film.
Yeah. Now that you mention those, it does definitely have visually the vibe of those films. What size crew do you usually have?
We always try to keep it as small as possible. Then it ends up being about 50 people.
Yeah.
I mean, like yourself, really. I mean, we use all of our family members. We rope in
Yes, that's how you do it.
Rope in about 20 of our family members, just doing anything from catering to just running people around in cars.
Yeah, and that's pretty impressive that you guys pulled this off in 2 days with that size crew and this many special effects and the prosthetics. Which the creature was like full on prosthetic, right?
It was
special effect, other than the smoke, obviously.
Yeah. Ian White, who's 7'1", so he brought that. He played the engineer in Prometheus, so the big guy at the end who fights the crew. That's him. He also played the Predator in the Alien vs Predator movies and all those films. So
and he's in Game of Thrones as well. Pretty interesting.
He was great. He brought he brought that physical stature, but. He was full prosthetics.
So I think there was a prosthetic appliance that went over the head, and I think it effectively pulled on and then was sealed up. and then that joined at the neck, which then built into a full sort of costume that was made out of a combination of foam latex and horsehair, I believe. There was some really random, horrible kind of sort of fibrous stuff that was in there that absolutely stank. It was foul, yeah. But that really worked. It really added something, because you knew it was coming because you could smell it about 10 meters away. So there was that, and then the full costume obviously was applied down, and that was layers and layers of this kind of material that was built up, and that led to full prosthetic appliance.
The actual costume was made by Cliff Wallace, who worked on Hellraiser. He's worked on stuff for Del Toro. He was special effects advisor on Hellboy 2 for Del Toro, and people have said it's got a very kind of Del Toro look to it, and
it does,
you can see why, because a lot of that comes from Cliff himself. That's what he does.
And now the creature was a custom design for this film.
Yeah, by Cliff.
That's awesome.
He works on it for us for free. I think he models these creatures and things as a hobby, I think, as well as a job. And he saw the chance to make something which we kind of gave him a bit of a free rein on, and he did that. And then he brought this fantastic demon to our film.
That's great. And jumping back to pre-pro, I just had another question. Do you guys board? Do you guys do any storyboards? I mean, you shot list, obviously.
Yeah,
but,
I mean,
do you board it, or do you just keep it all in your head and with the shot list?
I think consistently for the last, Death Scenes had a sort of photographic storyboard. And I think the last few, did you storyboard in Prey?
Yeah.
So that's going all the way back to Prey. I think it's the first one we storyboarded on.
3, yeah.
The amount we were trying to capture in the days that we had to really pull our shooting script to bits as well, and almost we put it into decimal points in terms of how that was going to be structured against shot, so that we could, as accurately as possible, kind of craft that on the day. And it was a bit of a hard work for the actors, because we're going, right, we're doing 3.6 now, and in that scene you're supposed to be crying. Let's go.
Did you do something special with the glass, or you just spun it?
No, well, that's. I mean, do we unveil that secret mechanic?
So there's basically,
it was actual voodoo.
Under the table, there's a motor. There's a very thin wire. The cup is plastic. The wire is going into the bottom of the glass, and then basically the motor is basically driving the wire, and it's basically just spinning it around on an axle, and so the glass is just rotating. And then the added sound effect sells it, but it's a plastic glass spinning on a wire, essentially.
Yeah, that's awesome. It looked great. I don't know, that was something that stood out to me. I was like, well, how is that happening? But what's next? I mean, you guys have had great 8 films. I really love this one. Wait, I mean, what's next after that? Do you already know what the next one is, or does one end and you're like, now what?
Well, previously we always have done, to a certain extent. We've always kind of said, well, this is episode 5. We know what we're doing. 6, 7. Right, very, very early on. I mean, I think we had the first 5 almost mapped out to a certain extent. But I think at this point now we're kind of like we've gone quite far with Bloody Cuts, and there's certain things that we want to try, things that we don't really want to kind of reveal at this point. And so we've got things being developed for further episodes. Ultimately, we're doing this because we want to go to Hollywood and make movies. So that's kind of like where we're at now. We're kind of looking at the series as a whole, developing things there a little bit slower than normal, because we've got a few other things that are kind of slightly distracting us, really positive things. We're very much about continuing what we're doing, generating more episodes in the series. Because the ambition has always grown with each episode, I think that further episodes will take longer for us to make, purely for the fact that it'd be very easy for us to fall back and do something much more straightforward, but then what's the point? I mean, we want to do something that really tests us each time. So if you get a musical comedy version of Bloody Cuts episode, don't be surprised if that's episode 13 or something. So
I thought you wouldn't tell them.
So we've got loads of plans. There's so much you can do with horror. But the grand scheme of things is movie making.
Oh, that's great, man. I'm really excited to see what you guys do next. I mean, every time you guys put something up, I'm jumping on it to see it, because I'm really interested to see what's new, because you guys are always making something a little fresh. But if other people want to find your other backlog of episodes, where's the best place for them to go?
Okay, so you can go to, and here's the pitch, www.bloodycuts.co.uk, and there you'll find all of the films, all 8 films, a host of special features. There's a blog up there. You can see all the faces, familiar faces from the series. There's tons of information, tons of links. So yeah, that's where everything's at. So that's www.bloodycuts.co.uk. We've got a YouTube channel as well, which is youtube.com/bloodycuts. You follow us on Twitter, which is twitter.com/bloodycutsfilms, or Facebook, which is facebook.com/bloodycuts.
All right, great. So everybody should definitely be checking it out. You guys' stuff's awesome. I mean, I pimped your stuff a few times now. I mean, Sucker Blood was fantastic. This one, fantastic. I really love them all. So definitely check out their stuff. And we're definitely going to have you guys on again, like with the next one. Whatever the next one is, we got to bring you guys back to figure out how you did that one, because I'm sure it's going to be something new and wacky.
Before we go, though, I must shout out that we haven't discussed about. I want to give a big, huge kind of thumbs up. That's 3 thumbs up to Ben Tillett and the VFX team, who obviously not here, but they did an amazing job at sealing the deal with the visual effects.
Yeah, absolutely.
For the post production, and So I'm sorry, that's a bit of a afterthought. It's not. I was thinking about it all along.
It's a shout out. It's a nice little shout out. All right. Well, thanks again, guys, and we'll definitely have you on again soon.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, Ryan. Cheers.
Video Blocks offers everything from After Effects templates, motion backgrounds, virtual sets, production music, and more. And it's all royalty free, so you can use the clips however you'd like. Video Blocks now offers over 100,000 stock video and audio clips and are constantly adding new content every month. Categories includes things like explosions, slow motion effects, earth, air and space, time lapse, and then all sorts of audio stuff like dramatic music, suspense, ambient, cinematics, all the good stuff, Josh. All the really good stuff. So check out videoblocks.com/Film Riot to learn more and to get 7 free days of complimentary downloads. No promo code needed. Yes, you heard me right. 7 free days of complimentary downloads. Get your butt over there. Get it. It's a cute butt. Get it over there.
Logo.
So there you go. Thank you to the guys at Bloody Cuts for doing that for us. They had a lot of really cool things to say. I like the way that they do their process, and it's always really good to talk to really talented people who are doing things that do not look like it's done on that low of a scale, but it is. They're doing it for very cheap for the way it's coming out in the end. It's a very high production value. So thank you again. We'll definitely have them on the show again when they come up with another awesome short film. But that is it for today. As always, you can follow me on my Twitter. And don't forget about the Monday Challenge. You only have a couple days left, right?
Till Friday.
You only have till Friday to get your videos in for the Emotion Challenge. So don't forget about that, and we'll see you next time.